What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and I'm going to bring you my League Challenge second quarter, my first League Challenge first place deck. We're still playing through on the amazing power of Zoroark. This card is just so amazingly good and so dominant. There's a reason. I mean, the ability is just so good, and the attack is so solid. We're running a 4-4 line there. And the thing that I notice is interesting about all the standard decks I'm seeing post Lost Thunder is they've kind of forgotten that this card exists. They're all very item heavy, and they kind of have to play them in order to succeed. And I'm not seeing a lot of Garbodor out there, and a lot of people are not playing with the expectation of it. So if you can kind of conceal that Trebush for the first couple of turns, boy, will people just really heavily puke their items into the discard pile and make this guy really strong really quickly. But a lot of decks also can't help but kind of set this guy up. You think about things like, Ultra Ball and Net Ball and Rare Candy and things like Alolan Ninetales that really want to set up with items. I mean, they kind of have to play into it in a lot of cases. So we're running triple Garb just for that. And we've got 3 of our nice little Stomp Off Trubbish that go with it. It's just such a solid attacker, even mid-game now. We're running double Macargo to support that because his smooth over is so amazing. And so many players do not snipe the Macargo, and I think they really should. But the ability to search through your deck and get whatever you like is so powerful as Zoroark. It can't be overstated how powerful that is. I'm running this Slugma. We don't have a Slugma that we can get with Lecture, so we're not running it anyway. And I don't think the 10 extra HP kind of get around the potential usefulness occasionally of Magma Ring. The few times we're going to actually attack or have a Slugma staying up active for any length of time, I'd rather have the better attack. So that's the one we're running. We were running Ditto Prism, but I tested it a lot, and it honestly mostly just kind of got in the way. I didn't really need it. Our basics are quite plentiful for the most part. So I subbed it out for Marshadow, just let loose Marshadow, and I found this card putting in a lot more work. It's just an additional supporter. It can mess with your opponent in the early game. Just let loose is just so nice. I like this better. It's my preferred card. I was running one Giraffe Rig. I kind of expected to see Alolan Eggs. I didn't end up getting paired against it. As it turned out, I played, in order actually, I played Zoroark Control, and then I played, Malamar, and then I finished off the tournament against Zoro Decidueye, and we went through his, and we ended up going 2-0-1 just because of time, but we would have had that third match if we'd had enough time. He was playing a little slow. He wanted to make sure he played correctly, and that's fine. But anyway, we are taking the Draft Rig for that because of its Get Lost. And Get Lost is obviously a pretty nice, if you play it on the right turns, it can mess with things like Malamar. It can also mess with Blacephalon potentially in those early turns. They can send a lot of fire energy before they have their Nagana Dells up. This can kind of mess with them a little bit, slow them down, which is quite nice. And even against something like Lost March, that Mind Shock, if you just attach that DCE, you have a 1 prize attacker that can knock out anything in Lost March. So it's not total garbage in that matchup, but it's very easily discarded too, and it can fill your bench for Zoroark, which isn't bad. And our final 2 mons are 2 Tapu Lele GX just for the Wonder Tag. It's just that important, that powerful. We just like to aggress and hit our supporters. So that's the lineup of Pokemon. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Works quite well. Supporter-wise, we're running 4 Cynthia. It just goes so well with all the evolutions we're running. Obviously, it's a really good supporter. Not much to say about that. We're running 2 Lilies. You can Lele for that on turn 1 with no shame. It's just a really good thing, and it obviously pairs well with Macargo as well. We're running 1 Tate and Liza. This is another card that kind of flies under a lot of people's radar, but the ability to switch as a supporter is pretty useful, especially since you can do things like Palpad, and things like that to recover it, which you can't do with a lot of other switch cards. And you can obviously you can search it out with Lele, things like that. It's just really versatile, and it's a good shuffle draw supporter on a tight moment as well. There's just really nothing bad about it at all. It's just so good. We're running 1 copy of Judge. It's a nice early game supporter to mess up opponents, or if they accrue a lot of cards mid-game, it can be nice. Just a good one-of we can search for, and we run a lot of one-ofs. We're obviously leaning pretty heavily on our Lele and our Macargo in this deck. We're running 1 Kukui. This gets us some pretty crucial points for knockouts, like for instance against 170-point targets. Zoroark with 120. With Choice Band and Kukui is at 170 for knockout. It can also help squeeze in some extra damage occasionally for knockouts with our Garbodor that people might not expect, which is pretty nice. So definitely worth having the one-of so we can search it with like Macargo basically. We're running 1 Apricorn Maker. It can be nice early game search for like Nest Balls. We do rely on Nest Balls over Lecture, obviously, since with the exception of Zorua, basically everything we want to get is going to be a little more HP. Pretty solid there. You get Ultra Balls as well with it. No problem. Gets us our evolutions when we need them. Blah, blah, blah. You can discard it to Zoroark if you don't need it. We got 3 Guzmas just because we're that good at kind of recurring it and recovering it, so that's all we really need. We're running 1 Acerola. It's just a really nice flexible card, especially against things like Shrine. It can pick up your Lele's, and obviously if somebody tries to 2-hit KO your Zoroark, it can be really useful to pick it back up and deny them those 2 prizes. And our final supporter is we're running 1 Faba. This is just a really useful thing for getting rid of stadiums like the aforementioned Shrine. It can just pick off annoying tools that get in your way, and it's really good for picking off DCEs and whatnot. So we got a pretty nice little 6-card toolbox of supporters here that we really like to use Macargo to kind of put in a lot of work with them. So that's our 15-card supporter lineup. Our item lineup is very straightforward as well. We're opting for 4 Ultra Balls for all the obvious reasons. It just gets anything and everything. We've got 4 Nest Balls to make sure we can get down and set up for that Zoroark as quickly as possible, and obviously they can also get you, anything else. It gets you that early Slugma to help you, hopefully like Ultra Ball or whatever, into a Macargo. Start feeding yourself whatever you would like. We got 2 Choice Bands, should be all we need. We don't get knocked out too very much, and you don't always need it in every matchup, so 2 is fine. We got 1 Devoured Field, which you can play either to counter Stadium, just again, it's 1 more counter Stadium in case you need it, but it also helps Zoroark hit 130, which can be pretty important against a lot of targets, so pretty handy one of there. We've got 1 Field Blower for kind of the same reason. It can get rid of stadiums we don't want to see out, and it can get rid of tools like Choice Bands, blow those away, get rid of escape boards, whatever we need. We got 1 of Enhanced Hammer we can go looking for. This is really useful against other Zoroark decks. Anything Special Energy Reliant, which is a lot of decks out there right now. We got the 1 Pal Pad. Just play it carefully. More often than not, you're just getting Guzmas back, but it can be really nice for occurring things like Acerola as well as we need. And our final item in the deck is 1 Rescue Stretcher, which is pretty obvious, pretty standard by now. Just gets back whatever you need for the situation, or can restuff your deck with a lot of things in case we lose a lot of things early on. And our energy lineup is also really straightforward. In case you hadn't already guessed it, we got 8 cards left, and it's 4 DCEs and 4 Psychic Energies. And that's 1 DCE for each Zoroark, and then 3 Psychic Energies for 3 Garbodors, and then 1 extra that you might need for something like, say, Giraffe or whatever the case may be. And that is the deck. It handles really smoothly. It can kind of take on all comers pretty evenly. It doesn't have too many super bad matchups. Obviously Zoroark is scared of fighting things like Buzzwole and Lycanroc, but they're not big fans of having to deal with Garbodor. So it kind of balances out. It's a lot of fun. If you've got a challenge coming up soon, or like a local tournament, give it a try. It will not let you down. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more content.